It's not how much trouble it's going to be. It's what is Alex Murdaugh guaranteed to under the Sixth Amendment.
New arguments for the defense of Alex Murdaugh. Attorneys presented arguments before the South Carolina Supreme Court Wednesday, asking justices for an appeal to his murder conviction. He's been in prison since 2023 for killing his wife and younger son, but to this day, Murdaugh insists that he's innocent.
Murdaugh was not present at Wednesday's hearing. Supreme Court justices heard arguments from defense attorney Dick Harpootlian and the trial prosecutor, Assistant Deputy Attorney General Creighton Waters. Harpootlian points to misconduct by a court official and evidence of Murdaugh's other crimes that shouldn't have been allowed in that trial. Waters argued that the nature of the case warranted the evidence that prosecutors presented. A decision isn't expected immediately. If the conviction stands, the defense plans to appeal federally. Even if overturned, Murdaugh, keep in mind, still does face decades in prison for financial crimes.
I do also want to point out that his living son Buster was also reached a settlement. We'll talk about that in a minute. But first, Khalif, as we bring you in here, we do want to talk about what's going on with Alex Murdaugh. Can you speak to, when you have a case like this, what is considered evidence that you should be allowed to? Because if the person has a history of crimes, is that allowed in the case? How does the court make a decision, and how is that factored into what we're talking about now?
It depends, and this court's going to attempt to do that. I mean, there were fireworks in this hearing. Let's start with that. A number of statements that were made by the justice, by the defense, and the prosecutor were great. What's allowed is it really just depends on what you're trying to prove. I think Waters said it best, because I listened to parts of the hearing. He said that you need to be able to, for you to appreciate the dynamics, the large boil over, you got to appreciate the slow boil. And so he said we added all this volumes of financial crimes data because we wanted to show what was leading up to that. It wasn't just enough to see the tipping point, what led ultimately to him killing his wife, but they wanted to also be able to say that, look, he was taking money, he was taking money for so long that it tipped him over the edge. He was arguing that if we didn't show the entire thing, that jurors wouldn't have been able to capture the full-fledged of what happened.
So I want, if I can kind of sidestep here and talk about the eldest son that is still living, Buster, had settled this defamation claim, right? Mm-hmm. That a documentary that was made years ago, that it made him, he was depicted as a killer, as a murderer of Stephen Smith, which is still up for debate how that murder happened. But what does a settlement tell you instead of going to public trial?
That I want to get this over with as fast as I can. I mean, most of the time you're not going to settle because it's something outside of the scope of the case. I mean, when folks don't like each other, when it's something that's not really about money, but it's just I want to prove a point. But if the facts are there and two sides can come together and communicate, negotiations are everywhere, regardless if it's, a facts of a movie documentary or if it's, folks walking across the street and someone hits a car. There's always room to negotiate if you can. Most of the time you can't if emotions come into play. So I would say that two lawyers got together and figured out how do we make sure this avoids us spending a whole bunch more time and money on something that we can resolve today.
Had this gone a little bit farther, though, he was suing Warner Brothers specifically. There were a couple of documentaries or even thematic or series that were portrayed by actors, right? There's disclaimers at the front of those things that say, this is based on true events, but have been embellished, right, for these purposes. Is that enough of a defense in a case like this?
It's a try. I mean, you can try to put that up there. Look, listen, this isn't a true story that's based on true events, right? Everything isn't actually what happened, but we've used some editorial discretion. Yeah, you can have that, but if you're disparaging this person's name, if you're putting them in a situation that makes them look guilty, specifically when their father is on trial for murder at the time when that movie came out, yeah, the standard is knew or should have known, and if they're a public figure, did you use actual malice? Did you intend to harm them? So making that statement up there, regardless if you use editorial discretion or not, if your attempt was to harm him, then yeah, you still could be on the hook, and that statement wouldn't be enough.
All right, again, our chief analyst, Khalif Rhodes, weighing on that. Khalif, thank you.
Queen City News Plus. Just search Queen City News on your smart TV's app store.